Howdy, howdy, my friend. Welcome back. Today, we're going to dive into the philosophy and ethics of engaging in this process. And I know the words philosophy and ethics might be a little spooky. Maybe they feel a little heavy, a little dense for you, but I promise to make this process a very simple one, and it won't be too heavy. It's not too dense. But essentially what I'm getting at here is, I've talked a little bit in the introduction about how it's my understanding that each and every one of us is meant to be a living, breathing expression of God's loving awareness, that each and every one of us is a living, breathing expression of the creative, compassionate intelligence of the universe. So this process really is about opening up to that dimension of ourselves and being receptive to that love and that wisdom, so that it can kind of be a part of us. And then that's the place from which we live, breathe, and express out into the world, kind of as a vessel for this loving intelligence. So I wanted to just give some, I'll call them guidelines, but these are my own ideas, and it's an important thing I want everybody to understand, that comes to this material, is that, I've had my own direct experience of divine loving awareness and of intuitive capability and intuitive power and that kind of stuff. I've had my own direct experience with that, and that's what this material is a reflection of, those direct experiences. I am my own personal moral and spiritual authority, and you are your own personal moral and spiritual authority. So first and foremost, I want you to understand that your direct experience is most important when it comes to your spiritual growth and your spiritual process. What I have to say, what other people have to say, we really don't have any authority over you and your experience. I feel like it's just my role to lead people to their own direct experiences of the divine, because it is my direct experiences of the divine that have transformed my life. It has been less about beliefs and religions or traditions and ideas, and more about moving into experiences and having experiences that brought about understanding and revelation and insight that no one can take away from me. So first and foremost, I want you to understand that on this journey, your direct experience of this process is really most important, in terms of how it influences your behavior and your beliefs. So from where I sit, I'm not one to, I tell people I don't believe certain things anymore. I know them through my experiences, and I entertain speculative thought the way anybody entertains speculative thought. But at this point in my life, I understand when I don't have direct experiences, when I don't have information that I can claim to have absolute sort of authority over. And so I know what I don't know, and that's important. I know what I know, and I know what I don't know, and I move through life accordingly. I encourage you to do the same. Your direct experience with these practices and with the material is most important. So that may or may not look like the experiences I've had. It may or may not lead you to similar understandings. I'm always going to ask you to defer to yourself when it comes to your experiences and what you take from the material, okay? That is most important to me, that you reclaim your own personal, spiritual, and moral authority. The other thing I want to talk about is I want to talk about putting our spiritual growth first. Because when we engage in spiritual practices, I think something that has been lost is the philosophy of cultivating our soul's growth and putting that first and foremost. It's understanding why we live in a physical reality, in a material reality. There are physical needs, there are basic needs, there are survival needs. We live in a culture that is very materially minded. We have money, we have economics, we have a modern life that is very physical, that is very stimulating, that kind of like dominates our experience, until we learn to sort of like pull back and get a little more still. But essentially, we have a material experience that kind of dominates everything. But when we understand that this material experience arises from consciousness, and we begin the process of becoming a spiritual seeker, we engage in the process of our own spiritual understanding, our own spiritual growth, we start to recognize that it is consciousness that seeds the material experience. It's really the most fundamental level of creation. And so it's important to understand that when we begin to embark on our spiritual journey and our process of spiritual growth, we're essentially going to the beginning. We're going into the programming on the back end if we're tech people. We're going into the screenwriting process before the movie gets, into production and made if we're a creative person. When we get into our spiritual growth, we're going to the source. We're going to the beginning. We're going to the fundamental aspect of reality that informs and influences the rest of this material experience. So I'm going to encourage, if you're engaging with this material, to consider putting your spiritual growth first and foremost. That when you use these wisdom-seeking sessions, you use them in the context of your spiritual growth and your understandings. This is the path of being a true seeker. Sure, you could use meditation and some of this knowledge to, try and play it big in the stock market or whatever. But at the end of the day, like, the material world is less maybe consequential in the grand scheme of things than what is going on, at that soul level. Or what is the growth happening at the soul level? So I want to refocus, at least when you're spending your time with this material and embarking on this journey with me, let's spend this time together really focusing on our spiritual growth and putting that first. And I've come to frame that as, when we use these meditation sessions, when we use our intuitive senses and our intuitive power, we do so with the intention to seek love and truth and wisdom for its own sake, and that we honor that and learn to accept that whatever is meant to come, whatever is meant to be after honoring those things, we accept what follows. We accept that if we honor what is loving, what is truthful, and what is wise, if we honor that, we understand and we trust and we accept whatever follows is meant for us. Does that make sense? This is a pretty powerful act of surrendering to the loving awareness of God, to the creative compassion intelligence of the universe. This is a tremendous sacrificing of our own personal ego. So again, I was talking about how sort of materially minded our culture is. So when we shift our focus and when we reframe our spiritual seeking and our wisdom seeking sessions for our spiritual growth, or to move into alignment with what is loving, what is truthful, and what is wise, that can cause shifts, right? It'll shake things up a little bit. And that means that sometimes on this journey, if we're seeking what is loving, truthful, and wise, and we're going to honor that sometimes that means life is really smooth and it's flowing really nicely. And then sometimes we'll come up against things where what is loving, what is truthful, what is wise is going to shake some things up. So that might make it a little bit scary. It might shift, dynamics in our relationships. It might change the kind of work that we're interested in doing. It might change the way we handle, manage, and make money. Those are all things that I just want to kind of put out in front of you so that you're under no illusions about what this process perhaps will unlock for you. But if we're going to engage in this process and we're going to tap into the loving intelligence of the universe, or the creative compassion intelligence of God, we're going to tap into that. Do so first and foremost for your own spiritual growth. While I have now evolved into the role of being an intuitive guide and doing intuitive readings for other people, this was my process for 15 years before I was called to offer up what I'm learning and understanding and using my intuitive power to help guide others. That's a long process. That was a long time of me focusing on my personal spiritual growth first. And that hasn't stopped. You know, every day I still have a practice of seeking for myself what is loving, what is truthful, what is wise, and then honoring that, stepping into that, and accepting that what is really meant for me will follow. So I just want to say, if we're engaging in this process and we think that we're going to become super famous, or we're going to do this for lots of money, or because we want lots of power and all that stuff, not the right reasons to be engaging in this work, and it's not going to work. Not how I understand it, at least. The intention here, I'm going to encourage you to move into, is to engage in this process for your own spiritual insight, your own personal revelation, your own growth, to unlock your own intuitive power, and then see where that organically wants to take you. It's a tremendous act of surrendering the ego, which is very important in this process. And it's also a tremendous act of surrendering to the unfolding of loving consciousness that wants to take place through each and every one of us. So to me, it could be a really exciting process. So I just want to offer that up. You know, trust your direct experiences. You want to honor your direct experiences, and your direct experiences are more important than what I will say or any other authority figure will say. You diligently and persistently move into the direct experiences of your intuitive and spiritual work, and allow that to guide, you know, your truth, first and foremost. And second, engage in this work to seek what is true, what is loving, and what is wise, first and foremost, for your own spiritual growth. And consider surrendering that if you honor those things that come from this higher dimension of loving consciousness, if you honor those things, that you surrender to the moment, you surrender to the future, that what is meant for you will come, what is meant for you will follow, if you simply honor your highest loving truth. So that's sort of the basics that I wanted to convey when it comes to sort of the philosophy and the ethics of engaging in this work and engaging in this material forward. I hope that you'll use these practices and these tools to deepen your understanding about yourself and to deepen your connection to divine loving awareness. And then to use that connection to inspire you to live from a place of deep, sort of divine love. All right? So go ahead and engage with the prompts connected to this video. I look forward to seeing what you reflect back. And once you've done that, I look forward to diving in to this next section. So go ahead and click into the next video when you're ready, and I will see you soon. Adios.